6 months after the humans' departure, Ambassador Veltar stood in his private office overlooking the council complex and watched emergency response ships ferrying evacuees from Nexus Prime. The massive space station's life support systems had finally collapsed, forcing the evacuation of 3 million beings to temporary facilities throughout the sector. It was the 15th major infrastructure failure in the past month. The casualty reports from the Andorian agricultural collapse are coming in, reported his aide, Sub-Minister HFY, whose once pristine appearance now showed the strain of constant crisis management. Food shortages are affecting 12 systems. Civil unrest is spreading on 4 worlds. Veltar didn't turn from the window. The parade of emergency vessels had become a daily sight, a visible reminder of how quickly the galaxy's carefully ordered civilization was unraveling. What about the medical crisis on Vega Colony? 40% mortality rate among patients requiring neural regeneration therapy. HFY replied quietly. Our best pharmaceutical teams still can't replicate the human synthetic compounds effectively. Something about their molecular bonding process that we can't duplicate. The numbers had lost their ability to shock. Veltar had heard similar reports every day for weeks. Critical systems failing, essential services collapsing, thousands dying from problems that had been solved decades ago when human expertise was available. Any response from human space? He asked, though he already knew the answer. Complete silence. Long-range sensors detect normal activity in human systems. Ships moving, energy signatures, consistent with active civilization. But they ignore all communication attempts. A soft chime announced an incoming priority message. Veltar activated the holographic display to see Counselor Nethris, the elderly scientist who had become the unofficial coordinator of the crisis response effort. Ambassador Veltar, Nethris began without preamble. I need to brief you on our latest findings. The situation is far worse than we initially assessed. How much worse? We've been analyzing human technological contributions more systematically. The dependencies run deeper than infrastructure and services. Humans didn't just provide alternative solutions. They provided foundational knowledge that we've been building on without realizing it. Veltar finally turned from the window. Meaning, take quantum communications technology. We thought humans had simply contributed improvements to existing systems. In fact, they redesigned the theoretical foundations of the entire network. Our galactic standard quantum.com protocols are actually human innovations that we adopted without understanding the underlying principles. The implications struck Veltar like a physical blow. How many of our standard technologies are actually human developments? We're still investigating, but preliminary estimates suggest at least 30% of what we consider advanced galactic technology originated from human research, or represents human improvements to existing systems. The hologram flickered as Nethris transmitted a data file. This is a comprehensive analysis of technological development over the past 50 years. Look at the acceleration curve after human contact. Veltar studied the display with growing horror. The rate of technological advancement across all sectors had increased dramatically after humanity joined galactic civilization. Medical technology, energy production, communication systems, transportation. Every field showed the same pattern of accelerated development, correlating with human participation. We haven't been sharing technology with them, he breathed. They've been advancing our technology for us. More than that, Nethris continued grimly. They've been solving fundamental problems that we didn't even realize we had. Our civilization has been coasting on incremental improvements for centuries. Humans brought genuine innovation. The realization was staggering. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations had allowed themselves to become dependent not just on human services, but on human creativity and problem-solving capabilities. Have we tried offering them anything they might want? Veltar asked. Territory, resources, formal recognition? Everything we can think of, Nethris replied. The response is always the same. Silence. It's as if they've written us off completely. A priority alert interrupted their conversation. HFY announced an emergency council session had been called. When Veltar arrived at the chamber, he found delegates in various states of distress. Several species were calling for military intervention to force human cooperation. Others demanded immediate resource allocation to accelerate development of replacement technologies. The consortium has lost 16 commercial vessels this week, announced Sekmal, his forearms gesturing frantically. Navigation computers are failing throughout our fleet. The human-designed routing algorithms are breaking down, and our engineers can't repair them quickly enough. The Taldari Union supports immediate military action, declared Thisazara, her compound eyes reflecting desperation. Human withdrawal constitutes an act of aggression against galactic stability. We cannot allow one species to hold civilization hostage to their whims. Military action against whom? Asked Regent Korth. We can't locate their fleets, their government centers, or their military installations. Human space appears to be completely shielded from our sensors. Then we break through their defenses, insisted Vexhan, who had become increasingly militant as the crisis deepened. Whatever technology they're using to hide from us, we can overcome it with sufficient force. Can we? The question came from Councillor Murthok, who had been conducting his own investigation into human capabilities. Has anyone else noticed that we know remarkably little about actual human technology? The chamber fell silent. It was true. Despite 43 years of cooperation, humans had shared applications of their knowledge without revealing fundamental principles. They had taught the galaxy to use human innovations without explaining how those innovations worked. They gave us the fish, Veltar said quietly. But they never taught us to fish. What do you mean? Asked the speaker. Think about every human contribution to galactic civilization. Medical treatments, agricultural techniques, communication protocols, transportation systems. In every case, they provided working solutions without revealing the underlying science. Veltar stood and approached the central floor. We assumed they were sharing freely, but they were actually maintaining strict control over fundamental knowledge. They made themselves indispensable by ensuring we could use their innovations but not truly understand them. That's impossible, protested Thisazara. Our best scientists worked alongside human researchers for decades. Surely they would have noticed if critical information was being withheld. Would they? Asked Murthok. How do you hide advanced knowledge from less advanced beings? You share results without explaining methods. You provide solutions without revealing principles. You let them think they understand, while ensuring they remain dependent. The implications were crushing. Not only had the galaxy become dependent on human expertise, but that dependence had been deliberately cultivated and maintained over decades of apparent cooperation. Why? Vexhan's voice carried bewilderment and growing anger. Why would they do this? What could they possibly gain? Maybe, said a new voice. They were trying to prepare for exactly this moment. All heads turned to see Ambassador Chen entering the chamber. The human diplomat appeared exactly as he had 6 months earlier, calm, professional, carrying the same datapad he'd used during countless council sessions. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted questions, demands, accusations. Security personnel moved toward their positions, uncertain whether this represented a diplomatic visit or some form of threat. Chen waited for the noise to subside, then spoke in the same measured tone he'd always used. Honorable delegates, I apologize for the disruption. I've come to address certain concerns that have apparently arisen since our departure. Concerns? Vexhan's voice cracked with strain. Your species has sabotaged galactic civilization. Thousands are dying because of your withdrawal. No one is dying because of our withdrawal, Chen replied calmly. People are dying because galactic civilization chose dependence over understanding, convenience over capability. You deliberately created that dependence, accused Thisazara. We offered knowledge, Chen corrected. We provided solutions. We shared innovations. The choice to accept those gifts without learning from them was made by you. Veltar found his voice. Why are you here now? Because the lesson is nearly complete, Chen said. For 43 years, humanity participated in galactic civilization, hoping to find peers, species that could match our creativity, our adaptability, our drive to understand rather than simply accept. He gestured to the assembled delegates. Instead, we found comfortable civilizations that had stopped growing. Advanced technologies maintained by rote rather than understanding. Societies so focused on stability that they'd forgotten how to innovate. We innovate, protested Nethris. You optimize, Chen corrected. You improve efficiency, refine processes, enhance existing systems. But when did any galactic civilization last develop something genuinely new? When did you last solve a fundamental problem rather than managing symptoms? The silence that followed was damning. So you withdrew to punish us, said Veltar. We withdrew to save you, Chen replied. Galactic civilization was dying of comfort. Your species were losing the capacity for independent thought, relying increasingly on established patterns and external expertise. He activated a small device, projecting a holographic display showing human space. While we've been away, remarkable things have been happening throughout the galaxy. Taldari engineers have developed new approaches to quantum computing. Hegemony medical researchers have made breakthrough discoveries in genetic therapy. Void Consortium navigators have invented routing algorithms that surpass our original designs. Out of desperation, muttered someone from the audience. Out of necessity, Chen agreed. And necessity has always been the mother of innovation. Your species needed to remember that they were capable of greatness. They simply needed motivation to rediscover it. How many more will die while we rediscover our capabilities? Veltar asked. Fewer than would have perished if we'd allowed the decline to continue, Chen replied soberly. Comfortable dependence leads to stagnation, and stagnation leads to collapse. We simply accelerated a process that was already underway. And now? Asked Regent Korth. What happens next? Chen smiled, the first genuine expression Veltar had seen from him in months. Now we find out if galactic civilization has remembered how to stand on its own. The crises will continue for a while, but you'll solve them. You're already solving them. And when you do, you'll be stronger than you've been in centuries. Will you return to the council? Eventually. But as equals this time, not as teachers or caretakers. Galactic civilization needs to earn that equality. Chen gathered his materials with familiar efficiency. We'll be watching. And when you've proven you can thrive without us, we'll be honored to stand alongside you again. As Chen left the chamber, Veltar realized that the empty seats in Section 12 no longer felt like an absence. They felt like a challenge. One that galactic civilization was finally beginning to meet. The humans hadn't abandoned them. They had forced them to grow up, and despite the cost, despite the chaos, despite the pain of learning, Veltar found himself grateful for the lesson. The galaxy was remembering how to think for itself, and that was worth any price.